I learned early on that quiet was a shield, since I was the middle child in a family of legal nobility. I will never forget the silence that descended throughout supper when my father, Judge Marcus Reed, leaned forward and cleared his throat. Elijah delivered his decision, and the one word he used had more weight than any sentence I had ever heard. "You need guidance in the courtroom," my mother Celeste, the renowned prosecutor, said before she opened her folder. She nodded at his side, demonstrating a courtroom demeanor that could command a jury. Their expectations were pillars all around. Me and I was stuck in the small hallway between them. Bennett, my oldest brother, had always known. He wanted to go to medical school after his first year of college campus tours. By the age of 16, he had already interned at hospitals. Every honor he received from the state health department was prominently displayed on the trophy wall. In the corridor, I hovered at the edges, a quiet son who spoke in binary, a monument to his parents' design. I soldered circuit boards in the garage after the family's visitors had left. I could feel their presence, even as a 9-year-old, their disappointment before they said anything. I recall my mother's quiet, unadorned voice on the morning. I declared, "I'd rather create computers than learn case law." She folded her arms and arched her eyebrows. "You possess a sense of justice, Elijah," she remarked, as if I had admitted a crime instead of expressing my passion. Their love required me to follow a plan I had never disclosed. I watched Bennett get commended for spearheading the charity gala committee. I might have enjoyed serving on it too, but I never dared to ask. Instead, when I got home, my father dismissed my first DIY coding club with a single glance at a handwritten poster. "That's not a real career, son," he said, waving his hand. Silence became my haven. I hid under the stairs, where cardboard boxes contained my materials, while Bennett rehearsed speeches to donors. I cobbled up a basic weather station using 12 lines of code, small hidden projects. At 14, I sketched a prototype for a home automation system on scrap paper using a recycled FPGA board. I hardly spoke of these ideas. I discovered that my dreams were invisible through indifferent looks. I learned to blend in, to chuckle at jokes about my uncertain job, and to politely nod when family asked, "So, what do you do these days?" I'd mumble something vague. "I'm considering a few options." Eventually, Bennett went to gather congratulations, and I gathered fragranced letters from venture capitalists and half-finished lines of code. Ironically, that enforced silence strengthened me. In the seclusion of my basement office, I found a discipline that flourished without praise. Late nights debugging stubborn JavaScript lines taught me the value of perseverance. Every time a program finally ran, I felt a rush of fulfillment that outshone any trophy on the wall. When my weather station predicted morning frost, when the lights in my custom control panel flickered on, I toasted my wins in private as cooling fans hummed softly around me, because success isn't about parental approval. It's about the resolve to keep going when no one else is watching. But adolescence is about identity as much as innovation. Sometimes my quiet became a kind of armor. I envied Bennett's ability to seize the stage at family events, not just his success, but the certainty of his path. I tried to enter my mother's world through mock trial competitions. I was good at research and argument, but when I stood to speak, my voice shook. Every word felt like a rebellion. It was during that struggle that I realized no amount of persuasion could make me someone I wasn't. I didn't want to argue cases. I wanted to write code, not legal pleadings, but software. The pivotal moment came the night of my high school graduation. The auditorium buzzed as graduates lined up for their diplomas. My parents' front row smiled politely as Bennett's classmates were praised. Then, my name came over the loudspeaker. I stepped on stage with a quiet determination. In my gown pocket, I had the application for a computer science program at a public university. I was ready to declare, in front of all those eager eyes, that I would follow a path untouched by Reed tradition. As I shook hands with the principal, I saw my parents' faces shift. from confusion to something else. I was no longer the silent observer beneath their expectations. I was Elijah Reed, the man who would shape his own legacy. And in their house, under their watchful eyes, I learned the most important lesson of all. The measure of success isn't how loudly others cheer, but how quietly, steadily you answer the call of your own ambitions. Each time I passed the hallway, I noticed the polished wood and the gleaming plaques commemorating Bennett's achievements. But I also saw the shadows stretching behind them, the storage boxes under the stairs, filled with my hidden hopes. I taught myself to code at 13. At 16, I built an event planning app for our school. At 19, I pitched Medscope to angel investors. Healthcare software, born from my bedroom. None of them bit. My achievements weren't displayed. They were labeled in Sharpie and stored in boxes. I remember returning from a regional coding competition with a bronze medal taped inside my backpack. The judges had praised my algorithm. Creative. Efficient. I approached the trophy wall with hope, looking for a place to hang that medal. Instead, I saw only Bennett's latest biology award. "Nice work, Elijah," my father said over dinner. "But you know medicine is more stable," he glanced at Bennett, seeking silent confirmation. I slipped the medal back into my pocket and smiled. To them, stability meant safety, not passion. Beneath the stairs, the storage box became my sanctuary. Its lone light bulb lit my scribbled code, soldered circuits, coffee-stained notebooks. At 17, I prototyped a remote health monitoring device. I mailed it to a rural clinic. The director responded. They couldn't afford to buy in, but they thanked me for the idea. That letter still rests in the box. A quiet reminder. My work mattered, even if my family didn't see it. I spent hours there, refining functions, adjusting sensors, dreaming of the day my projects would emerge from the dark. I sometimes imagined replacing one of Bennett's plaques with my own. Elijah Reed, founder of Medscope, Healthcare Innovation Award. But I never did. Instead, I taped the box shut, tucked it beneath old tax files. When I turned 18, that box came with me to college. My roommate thought it was full of textbooks. It wasn't. It held the roots of Medscope, market research, wireframes, a database of providers. I coded in the lab where no one knew my last name. I watched the user base grow. Ramen-fueled nights turned into pilot programs and warm feedback. That meant more than anything my parents had ever said.